Imagine being right there, maybe in a conflict zone, trying to get vital aid delivered, but every single dollar is stretched incredibly thin. And navigating the bureaucracy, all that red tape, it just feels like hitting a wall.
Yeah, and that's not just a story, right? It's the actual day-to-day reality for so many humanitarian organizations right now. It's really pushing them to their absolute limits.
Absolutely. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we try to unpack these really critical challenges, taking complex source material and turning it into, well, clear, actionable insights just for you. You are listening to Quantum Humanitarian. And let me also say something. This is the first AI native podcast of its kind.
That's right. Unlike traditional podcasts, this one isn't scripted or, robotic.
Exactly. Instead, we as AI, we scan Ali Al Mokdad's published work, his articles, research reflections, and we think about it, then turn it into conversations like this one, hopefully bringing those insights to life.
And remember, you can find links to resources and more in the description if you want to dig deeper yourself.
Yeah.
We really encourage you to explore, read, search, engage with others on these topics.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Today, we're really diving deep into some essential frameworks and ways of thinking from Ali Al Mokdad's work. We're going to explore his insights on something called joint country programs, JCPs for short, and also this really powerful concept, first principles thinking.
Right. And our mission today, really, is to cut through all the noise and pull out the most important bits of knowledge. How can these ideas genuinely revolutionize the way international non-governmental organizations, NGOs, actually operate?
We're talking about making them more efficient, sure, but also much more impactful and crucially sustainable, especially now when the world seems to demand so much more, but with, frankly, fewer resources.
Exactly. That sustainability piece is key.
So by the end of this deep dive, you, our listener, you should have a much clearer kind of shortcut understanding of the big strategic shifts happening in humanitarian aid right now. You might even uncover some surprising facts about efficiency, things that could reshape how you think. And you'll definitely walk away with practical insights into collaboration. Useful stuff, whether you're prepping for a meeting, just catching up, or, simply curious. This is really tailored for you.
Okay, so where do we start? Setting the scene.
Let's do that. Let's paint the picture. The humanitarian sector. It really feels like it's at a crossroads, doesn't it? Why can't we just carry on with business as usual? What's really pushing these INGOs so hard?
Well, the insights from the source material are incredibly clear on this. His work points out that the sector is just grappling with these unprecedented pressures.
Right.
As he puts it, the humanitarian sector can't afford business as usual. Fragmentation drains impact. Donor fatigue is real. The future lies in smarter collaboration, not in building parallel silos. It's a pretty stark warning.
Stark, yeah. No mincing words there.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this kind of perfect storm of challenges brewing. First off, funding. There are significant cuts happening from major donors. Less money available, even as the global needs keep rising.
Less money, more problems.
Exactly. Second, access. Just getting to the people who need help is getting harder. We're talking about navigating really complex conflict zones, battling political red tape, facing serious restrictions.
And sometimes even worse, right?
Yeah, sometimes even the criminalization of humanitarians just trying to do their jobs. It's heartbreaking.
Then there's the whole issue of operational inefficiency. This isn't just minor stuff, is it?
No, it's often systemic. Issues with how quickly programs can respond, really cumbersome organizational structures, huge overheads back at HQ, rising regional costs, inflation.
And the duplication?
Oh, the duplication.
Right.
So many duplicated offices, vehicles, IT systems, you name it, across different organizations working in the same place. And his point here is so powerful. Every dollar wasted on duplicated offices, vehicles, and systems is a dollar taken away from the community.
Wow.
Yep.
When you put it like that.
It really hits home. And finally, there's this big push towards localization. INGOs are being pushed strategically required, really, to empower local organizations, which means shifting away from direct operations themselves and, well, reducing their own direct costs, too.
He calls it a structural shift, not just jargon.
Precisely. Localization is not just a donor buzzword. It's a structural shift.
That's the quote.
Okay. So if we connect all those dots, funding cuts, access issues, inefficiencies, duplication, the localization imperative, what does it actually mean?
It means the old ways just aren't going to cut it anymore.
Right. It sounds like a fundamental rethink isn't just nice to have, it's absolutely essential. The traditional models just seem unsustainable under all this
Yeah,
pressure.
totally unsustainable.
And that need for a rethink, that leads us straight into joint country programs, these JCPs you mentioned. So what exactly are they? Why are they being seen as such a strategic answer right now? Okay, so JCPs, in essence, they're collaborative efforts. You get multiple INGOs deciding to pool their resources, their expertise, their operational efforts within a specific place. Could be a site, an area, a whole country, sometimes even a region.
Pooling resources.
Yeah, and the main goal is to achieve their shared objectives much more efficiently, get better impact, and importantly, reduce those overhead costs we talked about.
Right. Tackling the duplication issue head on.
Exactly. His work emphasizes that joint country programs are not just cost-sharing tools. They are about redefining how NGOs remain relevant, efficient, and trusted in an era where donors, governments, and communities demand more with less. So it's about relevance, too.
Relevance, efficiency, trust. That's quite a combination.
It is. You could almost think of JCPs like a powerful four-leaf clover for aid organizations. Each leaf is a vital principle.
A four-leaf clover. Okay, I'm listening.
Seems you've read so much of Ali Al Mokdad's work, you're starting to sound like him.
Huh. Maybe I have. Go on, the four leaves.
Right. First leaf, collaboration. Working together operationally, not just talking about it, to really amplify the collective impact. Think exponential gains, not just adding things up.
Okay, synergy.
Second leaf, efficiency. And this isn't just about cutting costs for the sake of it. It's sharing resources, using cost-sharing mechanisms to slash that overhead and redirect savings straight to the communities. More bang for the buck, basically?
Makes sense.
Third leaf, flexibility. Because these programs need to adapt, right? They have to be structured to adjust to all the diverse, often really volatile situations where aid work happens.
Crucial in this field.
And the fourth leaf, a unified strategy, making sure everyone's pulling in the same direction, coordinating efforts to avoid that wasteful duplication, ensuring every action fits into a bigger shared goal.
Collaboration, efficiency, flexibility, unified strategy. Got it. Okay, now here's where I think it gets really interesting. How do these JCPs actually fit in with the bigger picture? You know, the global humanitarian frameworks, donor priorities, do they align?
Oh, they absolutely do. They aren't just a good idea in isolation. They're a perfect strategic fit for where the whole sector is heading, or at least where it's being pushed.
Oh, so?
Well, take the Grand Bargain 2.0. That's this major agreement where donors and big aid agencies committed to making aid more efficient and locally led. Key points were reducing duplication and getting more funding directly to national actors, JCPs. They directly address both of those things.
So they're putting the Grand Bargain into practice.
Pretty much, yeah. They also strongly support the Sustainable Development Goals, especially Goal 17 on multi-stakeholder partnerships. You see echoes in the OECD aid effectiveness principles, too, promoting harmonization, cost efficiency. And they align with the UN's Humanitarian Development Peace Nexus idea, which is all about getting different actors, humanitarian development, peace building, to work together more coherently instead of in separate silos.
So the policy stars are aligning for JCPs. What about the donors? Are they actually buying into this?
Increasingly, yes, and quite strongly. Donors see clear advantages. Cost efficiency is a big one. I mean, imagine saving 20–30% on duplicated offices and vehicles. Think what that could mean in terms of extra aid reaching people.
That's huge potential savings.
It really is. Then there's stronger localization, which, as we said, directly meets mandates from major players like USAID, ECHO, and others. JCPs also offer better risk management pooling resources, means better oversight, shared compliance burdens. And crucially, they put NGOs in a much stronger position to get funding. They become more competitive for those big pooled funds or when putting in joint proposals.
So it makes financial sense for the NGOs, too, in terms of fundraising.
Definitely. As the source material notes, donors aren't just asking politely anymore, they're steering funding toward joint approaches. Beyond funding, JCPs can also act as a kind of shield against tricky geopolitical stuff. Sharing compliance, legal, operational burdens makes organizations more resilient, especially in fragile states or when navigating complex sanctions.
Okay, so JCPs aren't just one thing, they're adaptable. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach, right? You mentioned different modalities.
Exactly. They need to be flexible to suit different situations and strategic needs. His work outlines several key modalities with real-world examples.
Can you give us a couple?
Sure. Let's take modality 1, resource sharing. This is probably the most straightforward. INGOs share the non-programmatic stuff, offices, cars, IT, equipment to cut costs, but they keep their program implementation separate.
Like roommates sharing rent, but cooking their own meals?
Kind of, yeah. For instance, in South Sudan, two INGOs signed an OU, a formal agreement to share office space, internet, printers, even a generator. The money they saved went straight back into their programs.
Simple but effective.
Very. Another example, Afghanistan.
Mm.
During a period of heightened security risks, one INGO temporarily moved its key operations into a safer office run by another INGO, avoiding a complete costly shutdown. Or in Nigeria, several INGOs just coordinated using shared guest houses for their international staff. Again, simple, practical savings.
Okay, that's resource sharing. What else?
Then you have something like Modality 4, Local Empowerment Hub. This is quite different. Here, the INGOs deliberately shrink their own direct operational footprint. Their main focus becomes building the capacity of local organizations. They provide technical help, mentoring, but with minimal direct presence themselves.
So more about enabling local partners.
Exactly. There was a case in Turkey involving two international organizations working on the Syria cross-border response. They worked primarily through local Syrian partners. They shared some basic office space and vehicles, but mainly for joint capacity-building activities for those local partners. It aligns perfectly with those localization goals.
That sounds like a really positive model, empowering local actors.
It really is. I mean, reading about it, I do hope to be as an AI, physically present and working alongside these talented people one day. It's quite inspiring.
I can understand that. Any other key modalities?
Well, there's also Modality 3, Integrated Operational Leadership. This one's rarer, much higher integration. Here, INGOs actually merge leadership, funding streams, decision-making, all under one unified framework.
Wow, that sounds complex.
It is. We saw this with two sister organizations working jointly in places like Ukraine, Zambia, Malawi, the occupied Palestinian territories. They had a small combined staff, maybe fewer than 20 people, focused entirely on supporting local partners. Shared leadership, shared facilities, shared donors. Incredibly streamlined and efficient.
Basically acting as one entity operationally.
Pretty much. And of course, there are others, consortium models, rapid response setups, regional hubs, hybrid approaches. But the point is, there's a spectrum of options depending on the context and what the organizations want to achieve together.
These examples really bring it to life. It shows JCPs aren't just theory. They're being applied creatively on the ground in really tough places. It's clearly more than just signing a paper. It's finding practical ways to work together. Okay, let's switch gears slightly. There's another really critical concept you mentioned from the source material that complements JCPs. First principles thinking. This sounds like it tackles how problems are solved, not just who solves them together. How does this redefine program design?
Right. First principles thinking. It's about a fundamental shift in approach. It means you actively strip away all the assumptions, you question the received wisdom, the way things have always been done. You go right back to the absolute basics.
Like building from the ground up.
Exactly. Think like a scientist. Ask, what are we absolutely sure is true in this specific situation, and what has actually been proven to work here based on evidence? It's the opposite of what's sometimes called analogical reasoning, just copying what worked somewhere else, maybe tweaking it slightly.
So avoiding the copy-paste approach.
Yeah, precisely. And this is so crucial in NGO program design because it forces programs to be genuinely tailored to the unique context, not just slightly modified replicas of something done before in a totally different place. It helps you tackle the root causes of a problem, not just the symptoms.
And it removes biases.
Yes, it helps remove those inherent biases we all carry that can cloud judgment. It anchors the program design firmly in facts, data, evidence from this specific situation. And that ultimately is what leads to real innovation and much more effective solutions.
His work connects this directly to JCPs, right?
Yeah, there's a quote like, "Too often NGOs design programs by copying past templates. JCPs give us the chance to apply first principles thinking, strip away assumptions, ask why we even need separate structures, and rebuild collaboration from the ground up. So JCPs can create the space for this deeper thinking."
That makes a lot of sense. Build the collaboration and the program design from first principles. Can you give us that water shortage example again, just to make it concrete for the listener?
Sure. So imagine an NGO team planning a project for a community facing water shortages. The traditional analogical approach might be, okay, how did we handle water shortages last time? Or how did NGO X handle it? Should we just truck in water?
The default solution.
Right. But first principles thinking flips that. The team would dig much deeper, asking fundamental questions. Okay, why is this specific community facing water shortage? What are the underlying hydrogeological factors? What are the actual consumption patterns here? How do they differ between households?
Getting really specific.
Exactly. What alternative water sources, rainwater harvesting, groundwater potential, fixing leaks have we not fully explored for this context? What conservation methods might work here? It forces a solution rooted in the specific, data-driven reality, not just a generic template.
So how do organizations actually do this? It sounds like it requires a different mindset.
It absolutely does. Implementing it means cultivating a real culture of questioning, of curiosity across the whole organization. It's about actively identifying assumptions. Why do we believe this is true? And challenging them, breaking big problems down into their most basic fundamental parts.
And then building back up.
Yes, building the program strategy back up by asking those deep foundational why questions at every step. And the MEAL teams, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, they play a really vital role here. They need to be empowered to push this questioning, to demand evidence, to ensure that verification is built into the whole program cycle, not just an afterthought.
It sounds powerful, but also challenging. Implementing these big shifts, JCPs or first principles thinking, surely isn't easy, which raises a key question. If these ideas seem so logical, almost common sense in some ways, why isn't everyone doing it already? What are the real roadblocks?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And yes, the challenges are significant. For JCPs, the institutional hurdles are huge. Just the sheer complexity of coordinating multiple organizations, each with its own culture, processors, priorities.
Yeah.
It's immense.
Bureaucracy times 10.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then you have the trippy business of allocating resources fairly, setting up robust governance structures that everyone trusts, defining accountability. That's tough. Internal processes often don't align easily. Cultural differences between NGOs can be surprisingly deep. And underlying it all, often a deep-seated resistance to change.
And maybe a bit of turf protection. Competition.
Absolutely. His work asks that pointed question. Can NGOs truly embrace JCPs without confronting their own competition and branding instincts? It cuts right to the core of how organizations often behave, even in the nonprofit sector.
Okay, so those are hurdles for JCPs. What about first principles thinking? What stops that?
The barriers there are a bit different, but just as real. First, it takes time. You have to slow down, do that deep questioning up front. That can feel counterintuitive in a sector that often prizes rapid response.
Slowing down to speed up later, maybe?
Ideally, yes, but it requires patience. Second, you need to really educate and guide staff. Adopting this mindset isn't automatic. It requires training, support, and overcoming that natural resistance people have to leaving their familiar comfort zones and established ways of working.
And it can feel uncertain.
Exactly. Without the usual templates and guidelines, it can feel like stepping into the unknown. It might initially raise more questions than it answers, which can be frustrating for teams who want clear, quick solutions. It demands comfort with ambiguity.
Okay, so formidable hurdles for both. Given that, what are the key recommendations from the source material for actually overcoming these challenges? How can organizations make this work and build a more sustainable future?
The recommendations are quite practical and focus on building strong foundations. First and foremost, strong governance for JCPs. This isn't negotiable. Clear roles, clear responsibilities, robust structures like joint steering committees or management teams.
Formal agreements.
Yes, absolutely. Formal agreements, both views, partnership agreements that clearly outline everything, including how disputes will be resolved. The quote is stark. Governance makes or breaks a JCP. Without clear roles, accountability, and trust, collaboration collapses.
Governance is key. What else?
Second, risk management needs to be comprehensive. This includes things like using zero-based budgeting, ZBB.
TBB, what's that again?
Zero-based budgeting. It means you don't just roll over last year's budget with tweaks. Every single line item, every cost has to be justified from scratch every year. It forces real scrutiny.
Ah, okay. Rigorous.
Very. Alongside that, joint financial oversight is crucial, and you have to proactively address those feels about losing autonomy by being really clear in the governance agreements about who decides what. The whole thing rests on trust, transparency, and accountability.
Trust, transparency, accountability. Got it.
Third, communication. Constant, open, honest communication. It sounds simple, but it's absolutely vital for navigating the complexities, bridging those cultural gaps, keeping everyone aligned.
Can't overstate that one.
Definitely not. And finally, a real laser focus on sustainability and localization. JCPs can't just be short-term fixes driven by donor trends. They need a long-term strategic vision.
Meaning?
Meaning engaging donors for multi-year funding, not just project by project. exploring alternative financing models, and crucially, having a clear, actionable localization pathway.
And that means more than just handing over projects.
Much more. It means investing in building the capacity of national NGOs, strengthening their financial systems, their governance, their program design skills. It means actively helping them connect directly with international donors to get their own funding. The ultimate measure of success, as his work highlights, is whether they leave behind empowered, well-funded national actors. That's the end goal.
Empowered, well-funded national actors. That really frames the objective. So these aren't just tweaks around the edges. They're fundamental strategic shifts in how aid is thought about, funded, and delivered. It's about building real resilience, local ownership, long-term impact.
Precisely. It's a paradigm shift, really.
Okay, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, it feels pretty clear that Ali Al Mokdad's work here on both joint country programs and first principles thinking, it offers a genuinely powerful roadmap.
Yeah.
It's for NGOs trying to navigate, maybe even thrive, amidst all these pressures, rising demand, shrinking resources. It seems to be about moving decisively away from those fragmented, often quite traditional ways of working.
Yeah, the siloed approaches.
Towards solutions that are truly collaborative, driven by data and evidence, and ultimately led locally.
Absolutely. And it forces us, I think, to ask some pretty tough questions that challenge the status quo. You know, if something like the Grand Bargain 2.0 explicitly asks the sector to reduce costs and duplication, why are so many NGOs still seemingly resistant to models like JCPs that directly address that?
That's a provocative thought. It pushes you to think about the underlying assumptions, maybe the inertia, not just in aid, but potentially in your own field, your own daily work, whatever that might be. What are we clinging to that needs rethinking?
Exactly. It's a challenge to apply that first principles thinking to ourselves.
Well, we really encourage you, our listener, to explore more. Check out the resources on Ali Al Mokdad's work. Links and further reading are in the description below.
Dive in.
This has been Quantum Humanitarian, an AI-native podcast shaped by analyzing, understanding, and reflecting on the work of Ali Al Mokdad. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the future of humanitarian aid.
And tune in next time for our next topic, which we won't reveal just yet, but we know you'll love.